Today, people have access to everything at their fingertips, and I think some of us are recognizing that this having it all the time has left us feeling empty and overwhelmed. We're longing for that feeling of real grounded life, of being seen and supported by humankind. I am so inspired by this slow living movement back to our roots, to simple things like growing our own food and romanticizing household chores. I think it supports our mental health and, of course, prioritizing time in nature and savoring the process. They're all good things, but like any lifestyle label that gains popularity on the internet, there are also some misconceptions. So today I want to call out what I think is the toxic side of slow living. So I don't believe that there's any one right way to slow down and live a more intentional life, but I do believe it's a conversation worth having in this day and age when busy has become the new marker of a well-lived, very important life. So let's jump into some misconceptions that I have seen lately about slow living. Number one, the idea that hard work of any kind is bad for you. So on the one hand, I think there are enough boss babes out there promoting productivity hacks and biohacky morning routines, and there's just not enough being shared about the importance of rest, of Sabbath, of stillness, of solitude, and enjoying time outside without your phone. That being said, anything taken to an extreme becomes extreme, and rest without work, I think we all know, is not restful. Work, chores, crafting, building, raising, tending, co-creating is not bad. It's actually part of our human design and our flourishing. Think of a time when you were tired in the best way and the rest that followed that work. I think we're robbed of that experience when we start to perceive the work before us on any given day as bad for us. I'll say though that if you do feel burned out by your work, maybe you do have too much on your plate, or you're trying to take care of everyone or do it all perfectly. Number two is that you have to live off grid in a cottage or a cabin that you've built yourself on the countryside or in the mountains. Okay, I say this half as a joke because I think we consciously know that living intentionally, being content, creating genuine relationships does not require in any way for us to move to a specific place. Although I think it's rampant in our culture that the good life is just one more move away. It is a fresh breath of air to be reminded that although a lot of us share these wholesome values like prioritizing time in nature and slowing down with our kids, and we would hypothetically love to live in a cottage on the countryside, but that's just not our life right now. And maybe that's a good thing. The third misconception about slow living is that you have to purchase a whole new aesthetic, get super into cottagecore, buy a bunch of zero waste kitchen stuff, wear only earth tone dresses, and no. Again, I like some of this stuff, but slow living to me at its core is not I want it, I got it. It's the opposite of that. Waiting for the right time instead of rushing it. It's this idea of ripeness. You don't eat something until it's ripe. It's ripe and then it's ready. Trusting God's timing. And I think it's totally okay to purchase things that add beauty to your life for whatever reason. However, slow living is not an aesthetic, and I go deeper into this in my video about what slow living is and how to get started with it, which I will link in the description for you so that you can check that one out too. Number 4, and this one might be a stretch, but I'm going to say it anyways, and it's that slow living isn't for women with lots of kids. Now, to be fair, I have never ever heard anyone say this. I'll take full responsibility for this being my own misconception, but let me just share about it. It took us a long time, but we're dressed, we're in the car, we're heading to the farmer's market. After a few years of learning more about slow living, I do think that slow living is a very feminine draw and that it makes a lot of sense with our biology I think that if you feel a desire to slow down, that kids are definitely not a limiting factor. Let me expand on this. So kind of going back to the perception of work being bad, if we perceive the work of raising kids as too much or draining or anything that we can't actually handle in our life, no matter how much we rest or how much we declutter, our homes will never feel restful, and there will never be that sense of, I was made for this, I can do this, even if it is hard work. I believe women are meant to be creators, and I think that we can naturally relax into a slower paced life, even with a house full of kids, even with projects we're creating. Again, slow living is about nurturing and tending things over generations, savoring the process, connecting with your heritage, connecting to nature, connecting to yourself again. And all of these things go effortlessly and beautifully hand in hand with raising children. I actually made a whole video about this topic too. It was way back, one of my first videos, but I think you'll really like it, and I will link it for you in the description as well.